Okay. Interesting. So, now I will do a follow-up on yesterday's video. That's less just a description and more about, what happens next and all that kind of thing. But being that what happens next is still happening, and being that I've not yet I've not yet gone live with yesterday's video, so I'm not yet having any responses to it or anything like that. Not that I get responses to videos, but so I will instead talk about something completely different and talk about Brexit. Because over the weekend we apparently got this news that the EU and Theresa May were both saying the deal is the deal. This is what the deal looks like, and you like it or you leave it. And now there's the government's putting all these adverts on Facebook and elsewhere about how great the deal is and what wonderful things it lets us do. And obviously everyone from both sides disagrees with it, because I think we've mentioned before that Britain hates a compromise. For whatever reason, we want winners and losers, and there's so many people being like, oh, is this what my grandparents fought a war for? So for us to give in, for us to surrender. It's like, we're not at war. We're not at war with Europe. Why are white flags and surrender the imagery that you're going for? Who do you think you are fighting? But yeah, and people say, oh, it's not a great deal for anybody or anything like that. But here's what it is. What it is our opportunity to do the referendum right. Because the reason that the referendum, or one of the reasons why the referendum was terrible, is because of the phrasing of it. Just should we remain in the EU is an insanely vague question that you can't just leave it at that. You can't just say, oh yes, I would like to, I would not like to. We now know that is a very, very complex question with very complex answers. We now have 500 odd pages of very complex answer. We now know, and keep in mind, this is the draft, this is the basic version of it. This then results in thousands of millions of pounds worth of man hours of making that all happen and making all the treaties start working and make everything get back to some sort of normal. But yeah, we now know vaguely what that looks like, or vaguely what that could look like. So we are now actually able to make a decision, whereas before you had the Remainers saying, look, these are the things that could happen, by all rights will happen, and all the Brexiters saying, no, these are the things that could happen. And now we have our money where our mouths are. Now we can say, no, okay, we now have three options. Your three options are, we rescind Article 50. We just stay in the EU. We say, actually, you know what? These are some shit options. They are, we take the deal, because that is the deal that we're getting. Or we say, actually, we don't like the deal, we don't like the EU, we're just out lock stock. And we just start, we go on supposed WTO rules, which we can't go on to because our accession to WTO rules like that will also get blocked. So we won't even have that to fall back on, but either way, we now have concrete things. These are the deals that, and So now it's up to the Leave camp to say, these are the deals that we are going to make. Not all these are the deals we could make, no. We're now beyond Article 50. We can make deals. This is prior to Article 50, we weren't allowed to make deals. You're not allowed to make deals about leaving the EU before you've declared that you're going to leave the EU. Once you've declared that you're going to leave the EU, then you can start negotiating. We have not started negotiating. We do not have any deals in place for that. Now, if leavers can say, oh no, but we'll definitely get these deals in place and these deals in place, and this is what it will look like, and they can make that argument, if they're still staying wishy-washy and just talking about random bollocks about, the NHS and giving all the money magically to the NHS that we won't need to give our money to anywhere else or anything like that, we now know what that battleground looks like. We can now fight it properly. We now know what we're up against. And that is what a proper referendum should be. And yeah, it now has to go to referendum. It doesn't have to go to referendum. Legally, it in no way has to go to referendum. And legally, Parliament is sovereign. But this is your fundamental problem. I think I've mentioned this before. What we actually need to do, what somebody actually needs to campaign and run on, is a constitution. Because we have an unwritten constitution, we're uncodified, we've got a set of rules and things like that. An unwritten constitution is not a constitution. We now know this. The referendum for Brexit is something that should have been constitutionally mandated in any other country. That you're going to say, alright, this is how we do massive constitutional reform. These are the majorities that we need. This is who needs to vote. This is whose opinion matters in these kinds of situations. We do not have that. Britain has no checks and balances. It's all gentlemen's agreements. And clearly, nobody is being a gentleman. If somebody does something that is wrong, the courts cannot step in. The courts cannot tell Parliament to stop. The House of Lords cannot tell the House of Commons what to do. They can do it once, and then Parliament could just override it if they so wish. The only check and balance we actually have is the Queen. And the thing about that is that is a single-use only situation. Because if the Queen shoots something down, Parliament will just change the law. They will override the Queen, they will get rid of the monarchy, because obviously, we've been thinking about getting rid of the monarchy for ages, so it's fine. We know the process now. Presumably somewhere somebody's going to claim. And they shift it the same way that they did for the House of Lords, I think it was in 1914. They just removed that check, they just removed that balance. And then we got nothing. We talk about getting out of the EU so that we can promote British values and things like that. Britain has no values. There is nothing that we can say, this is what Britain stands for, because it's all uncodified and it's all contradictory and it's all a historic mess. The values that we have, the only concrete values that we have, are the EU values and the ECHR values. They are the ones that we signed up to. We signed treaties with the European Union, with the European Convention on Human Rights, and other international organisations as well, the UN and so on and so forth, that say these are the things that we believe in. But because at no point did we say that these things supersede parliamentary sovereignty, because parliamentary sovereignty is the most important thing we have, apart from apparently a straw poll that somebody threw together to appease Nigel Farage. And We at no point said, these are the rules that Parliament will work by. We have, rules of decorum, of etiquette, but at no point have we said, these are the rules by which we will govern the country, that we will make the laws, and that we will enforce the laws. That just doesn't exist for Britain. And now we are paying the price for that. But equally, we can take advantage of that in the short term and say, no, we are reasonable human beings. We know when we've done something stupid. And I'm not saying that voting to leave the EU was the stupid thing that we did. I'm saying that wording and setting up the referendum the way that we did was the stupid thing. And it was going to be necessarily stupid because any other country has in place strict rules for how you run a referendum, for how you run constitutional change, and we do not have those. So there is nothing wrong at all with us saying, right, we're going to do this properly now. We are going to run it with a more reasonable question. That reasonable question being, we have 3 concrete options that nobody can, start making pie in the sky arguments about what they are and they aren't. We know what they are now. Which of these options do you prefer? We can set it up so we insist on a qualified majority of some sort, whatever that wants to be. In this case, obviously, we've got 3 options. It might not even need to be over 50%. If you get like over 45 or something, you've actually done, massively better than the majority. Because obviously you're splitting the vote across the other 2. Whatever the other 2 end up being. So, and equally, you could run it AV style. Now, I realise the country apparently hates AV, but remember the people that like AV are everybody else, as in all, I think most of, certainly, the big parties run their leadership elections with instant runoff votes. Because why wouldn't you? The only reason you wouldn't is if you have no faith whatsoever in your electorate's ability to count to 3. So, yeah, potentially you could do that as an instant runoff if you want to. If you are going to complain about splitting the vote, say, oh no, but then because obviously, obviously I would love it to be first past the post on that referendum, because it means that Remain would win handily. But let's be fair to them. Let's say, all right, we'll do it as an instant runoff. We will do it so that you can say, I want to leave wholesale, but if that's not allowed, then I want to take the deal. That's fine. You can do that. That is you just voting blanket leave. However, how many people will there be who want the deal and definitely do not want to leave wholesale, that kind of thing? That is where we will get the true measure of what the country wants, of what the country is after. And anybody that doesn't want that is plainly saying that they do not care about the will of the people. They only care about political one-upmanship. We are now in such a tiny place where we can just run a straight referendum and we can organise it correctly so that nobody can complain. We know what the options are. We know what we can ask. We can, nobody can claim that they haven't had fair warning at this point about what could and could not happen. Now, obviously, there's still a chance for the tabloids to whip up a ridiculous fervour. They managed to do it for the AV. They managed to do it for the original Brexit vote. They can certainly do it again. But we've lost. Obviously, we've lost. The hundreds of millions of pounds that it will cost to run the referendum again. But then again, we were willing to piss money up the wall already, apparently. So let's leave it at that.